Hello everyone and welcome back to the 306, and today we're doing the gear linkage. Now this is going to run straight off the back of one of the last videos, which is the Gearbox Mount replacement. So if you haven't watched that, or if you haven't got to that point, basically it's just removing the battery and the battery box and the air filter box. Yep, and then after that we can continue watching this video. Uh, so let's get straight into it. The 306 has 3 gear linkages. And they're shown in this diagram as number 2, which is the long one, and as number 3, which is the short one, and there's 2 of them, so there's two number 3s. The other thing worth looking at here is also number 5, which is the rotating swivel hub. And yeah, feel free to pause, and I'll leave all of this in the description below. Alright, let's get started. Let's have a look at the gear linkage first. Okay, so this is going in from behind the gearbox, from above. We're going to see the long one there straight away, right in front of us there. And then the 2 smaller ones are just, and you can just see it to the right there, and just above it as well. I'll just get a better angle in a second. There we go, something like that. The one on the right there, the smaller one, it's almost, it acts almost as like a stabilizer almost. So it just holds the entire thing in place while the other 2 are shifting the gears. So I found that one was actually the worst of the 3, but there you go. That's all 3 of them there from the top, and I'll show them from the bottom when we get started. Alright, let's move on. We've also got some genuine parts. I plan to do like the entire thing just genuine, and that's it. That's all I got was the swivel arm, number 5. Fortunately though, as you can see, number 5 actually came with the number 6 little bushings, which is really good because I don't think they were available either for sale. So anyway, I got these linkages. These are like upgraded steel ones, so they don't bend and stuff. My long one is actually bent on the vehicle. So typically what you do with these is you get the old ones off the vehicle and then measure them, and then measure these to be the exact thing, but as mine is bent, I can't do that. So we're using the Haynes manual. The Haynes manual has the measurements on there, and we're going to adjust them to those measurements now. Okay, so starting with the small ones, they need to be at 106 millimeters. You can see this one I've done here. Now the measurement starts right at the center of the cup, so so don't measure it end to end. Measure it from the center to the center. And to adjust these, what I like to do is loosen it up, do half a spin on one side and half spin on the other, rotate it around. And then that will slowly increase it, but then also increase it equally on both sides. By doing this, it basically just eliminates the risk of a weakness if you like make one thread longer than the other. But there we go. And then the long one is at 260 millimeters. So again, measure it from the center of the cup, which is about there, and then all the way to the top here, like that, and that's 260. Alright, and with all that tightened up and happy with, let's move on to removing the old ones. Now the footage here, I've only actually got the footage of removing the big one here, which I was doing with a little spanner here. Now this method worked on the other 2, and it was just this large one that I really struggled to get off. I think it's because the ball itself is larger, and yeah. But there you go, that's... that's been really struggling to do it with one hand with a camera. Yeah, like I said, the other 2 came off fine. What I did with this one in the end was I actually put a flathead screwdriver underneath it, and it came straight off then. So here we go. This is well, this is me showing it lifting. It's not. I had already removed it prior to the video, but there you go. That's it coming off there, and you can see in the background the other 2 are removed as well, with the far stabilizer one at the back there. And you might not be able to see it, but in the distance there's the small one removed as well. And with all those removed, the long shafts should be removable now. Alright, so from under the car, you should be able to shift the shaft to the left side, to the passenger side there, and you'll see it comes off the ball there. All we need to do now is to remove it from the actual gear stick itself. Now this just needs a little clean up. It's just a bit oily and muddy. But you just need a set of sockets. I can't quite remember what the sizes are. I believe it's a 12 and a 10. And that comes off like that. Once the pin's out, the whole thing should actually just slide straight off. So with the shaft coming out here, it should bring with it the 2 smaller linkages with it, like that. There we go. Here it comes down now. Just be careful you don't like break anything else on the way out. It should be fine. They're only like linkages. But there we go. That's half of the job removed. The other half is still up there. Our next job is actually to remove this heat shield, which sometimes isn't there, and sometimes it is there on different vehicles, but it's there on mine, on top of the steering rack there, so that needs to come off next. But before we do anything else more to the car, we need to get off these little linkages, because we're going to reuse the old beam. So we're going to put a little spanner in there and pop it out. This is the same method that I used to get the other side off the car before. So it's just a case of sticking it in there and just jamming it out. Cool. Now they're both removed. I'm going to give the long shaft a clean. I feel like it's overdue it. The front of it is all covered in oil and the back of it is just muddy. It's also a good time to check the measurements are correct. You can see these are the correct measurements. One thing I had noticed was that the old ones had a slight angle to them, like maybe like a 10-15 degree angle to them on the bottom there, you can see. Now, I didn't bother readjusting them, but if it's up to you, I would recommend it, actually. Our next stop is to remove that heat shield again, which I pointed out earlier. And it's held on by the bottom here on the steering rack itself. This was actually probably the worst part of this entire job. It's just like it's on there pretty solid, and then like it's trying to shimmy it out past the exhaust and everything. It is quite difficult. Again, with this, I'll definitely give that a clean because it's pretty rancid. Alright, with the heat shield removed, we can now see the entire of number 5, if you remember from the diagram. That is the ball joint swivel thingy, swivelly arm. Right on the top of that, though, you'll see there's a little cap. This is like it's just a little plastic thing. I think it just protects the bolt from any oncoming oil spills or mud, or it's just a little dust cap. We're going to pick that off with a flathead screwdriver. Brilliant. And with that removed, again, I'd give it a wash. Everything needs a wash. Moving on, we're going back under the car again. So now you'll see the top bolt here. You can see it there. And you can also see how much play the number 5 ball joint swivelly boy has. You can see it does have a fair bit of play on it. You could pretty much just replace this if you do find the bushings number 6. You could fix that, but I like to just replace things hole for hole. So there we go. Let's get this boy out. Alright, now I did have some difficulty getting it out. I ended up using an imperial socket in the end just because you need a really low profile socket just to get it under there and under the exhaust. And make sure you have both washers with you, so the top and the bottom one I just pointed out there. And that's it, that's the entire unit there. You've got the top bolt, you've got the 2 washers, you've got the bushings, and importantly you've got the swivelly boy that we're going to replace. There's also a spacer inside there, so don't lose that either. There's a lot of things to not lose. Again, you could replace all those. I didn't check if they were in stock or not. I probably definitely should have got the washers. You can see here. You see the one on the right there. It is quite worn, where the bushing has like rubbed into it. What I did was I just flipped it upside down when I replaced it back inside the car. But I would recommend actually getting that washer replaced too. Okay, so moving on, this is a side-by-side comparison. I always like to do these on the channel, make sure you've bought the right part and that it fits the same dimensions. Luckily this is literally, it's identical. You can see it's got the bushings there, which is very nice, and it fits nicely, and it also doesn't have any play anymore. So I reckon it's just the bushings that had the play on it, but again, if you want to just replace the bushings, that's up to you. As we're using this new part as well, we actually don't need to pull off the long linkage from the old one. So that can just stay on there, brilliant, that's another 5 minutes saved. And we'll just do a side-by-side comparison of the long linkage. You can see here it's buckled. Clearly I could struggle to get into gear one day or something. I don't know how long it's been like that for, but yeah, that's the comparison. I'd say it's the right length, it looks about right, so that's good. Okay, so first thing we need to do is remove the locking pin. These just come out, they sort of wrap around it and then they come out like that. Just remember how they went out and then you can remember how they went back in again. So what we're going to do is stuff some grease in there. I just used some generic grease. I think you're supposed to use like more of a high heat grease, but I wasn't quite sure on how hot these components are getting as opposed to, like brakes or something. So it's kind of hard to find like a medium for it. So I've just gone for just generic, all-purpose grease. Stick it in there, get it all lovely and coated up. Alright, and with that greased, the next thing I'm going to grease is the inside of the bushings here. I figured a little bit of grease wouldn't help, wouldn't hurt, because you got the spacer inside as well, so it can like, you know, float about and stuff, and yeah, lovely bit of grease in there. Don't do it one-handed. Lovely. Alright, on to the next job. Our next task is to wrestle the two pieces together and then returning the link like this. This is good practice for when you have to do it later on the other side inside the car. So just from right way on, it's pretty simple. Once it's in, it's in. That just locks it in place so it won't come out ever. Like never ever again. Okay, next we need to reassemble the bolt, remembering all the pieces that it was with. So remember, you've got the washer on the top, you've got the spacer inside, and then you've got the bottom washer as well. Like that. And remember, I flipped this upside down, so it's, I guess, technically newer. Remember, it goes like that, and do not lose anything as you return to the car. And one last thing, I just almost forgot, pull this pin out as well, just for the other side, and don't lose it. Okay, so we're all back in the car. You're supposed to be able to torque this up. I have no idea how you're supposed to get a torque wrench in here. But this is the long bolt. You can see I've just sort of placed it on top. I haven't put it in yet, but we're going to get the rest of it in first. But there we go. That's how it looks right now. And there's no play. The play is all gone in that in the bushings there, which is lovely. And it does still swivel back and forth, which is good. But there we go. Let's get the rest of it in. Alright, first step is to get the cap back on. Now, I really struggled to get this cap back on. I actually ended up putting a flathead screwdriver against the exhaust, and then like using that to lever it back on, because my god, it was hard. And then we also got the heat shield as well, which, not surprisingly, is also an absolute pain in the ass to get back on the car. I have no idea how I managed that. But there you go, it's back on. It cleaned up alright. I was actually more impressed with the cap. I thought the cap was very nice now. I almost wish I kind of got a new one now, just so it wasn't like as yellow, but there you go, that's 90s plastic for you. Next up, we got the other side. We're going to do exactly the same. We're going to pop these links on and lock them in place. And I've also greased the inside of this so the new rubber ball can float around inside there. And yeah, all good to go. Okay, so reattaching it back to the gear stick here on the bottom. And then on the other side, we're just going to pop it onto the ball here. And then I've preemptively popped on the links there. Alright, we just need to push them on then. So this is all three of them on now. It does take a bit of a force, and you might end up like, you know, half breaking your hand. But they do go on eventually. Again, I think it might be in the angle of them. I reckon had I given them that extra 15, 20 degrees, they might have just gone straight on. But there you go, that's all three of them on. We just need to put the locks on now. Alright, and this is it with the locks on. You can sort of just see them like sort of shimmering around the head there. But and that's it really. Once you've got those on, your gear linkage is good to go. You just need to reassemble the battery and all that. But yeah, I hope you lot have enjoyed. This is the end of the video. If there's anything else you'd like on the screen, give it a click, and I'll see you next time. Bye.